Anyone who spends time in freezing environments knows this exact feeling. The temperature drops, and your fingers start turning to ice. But instead of suffering, you dig into your coat and grab a small, transparent bag filled with fluid. You press a tiny metallic button floating inside. Instantly, the liquid aggressively transforms into a rigid solid, pumping out serious warmth for hours. There are no batteries to charge, no combustible fuels, and no mysterious toxic compounds. This is pure physics in action. A lot of folks assume that surviving bitter cold requires buying pricey single-use warmers, electronic heated jackets, or premium tactical gear that drains your wallet. Science, however, tells a totally different story. A cheap, $15 reusable sodium acetate pouch completely destroys the competition. The chemical principles behind this have been documented for well over a century. Arctic researchers, military survival experts, and heavy industry professionals have trusted this tech for years. It seems the outdoor equipment brands conveniently forgot to share this with you. In this video, we are breaking down the exact mechanics of how this device operates, why it outclasses everything else you can buy, the scientifically correct way to use it for peak thermal efficiency, and how to endlessly recharge it for free using just boiling water. Let's dive right in. First up is the phenomenon of supercooling. This is the concept that makes people scratch their heads in disbelief. When sodium acetate is dissolved in water, it can actually remain in a liquid form far below the temperature at which it should freeze. Physicists refer to this as supercooling. To the naked eye, the fluid looks and acts perfectly normal, but in reality, it is sitting in a metastable state. It is packing a massive amount of stored potential energy, much like a tightly wound spring just waiting to snap. It exists at a temperature where it desperately wants to be solid, but it needs a physical trigger to make that leap. The split second you snap that little metal disc inside the pouch, you create what scientists call a nucleation point. That single disruption is the only invitation the sodium acetate molecules need to start frantically snapping together into a crystalline lattice. This wave of crystallization tears through the entire pouch from that origin point in a matter of seconds. You can watch it unfold right in front of your eyes. The transparent fluid turns cloudy and hard almost immediately as the physical structure changes. Watching that happen is arguably one of the coolest visual displays of phase change thermodynamics you can witness outside of a high-end lab. And that rapid transformation unlocks something you would never anticipate from a cheap little packet. Time for a quick quiz. When you initially snap the trigger in a sodium acetate pouch and the crystals start to form, what is the very first thing you actually feel? Is it option A, a massive instant surge of heat? Option B, absolutely nothing for about 30 seconds. Option C, a short drop in temperature before the heat starts. Or option D, a weird vibrating tingle from the crystal growth. Take a moment to think about it. I will give you 15 seconds to drop your guess down in the comments. If you went with option C, your intuition is spot on. The exact instant the crystallization starts, the reaction is momentarily endothermic. That means it actually absorbs a minuscule amount of thermal energy from your skin before the massive exothermic cascade explodes. That fleeting 2 to 3 second chill is simply the physical barrier of activation energy being breached. Right after that, the pack rockets up to around 54 degrees Celsius in a flash. Now, we need to address where all that heat is actually originating from. Our second concept is the principle of latent heat, and frankly, this is the core scientific takeaway of this whole breakdown. The average person assumes heat is only generated by destroying something: fire, friction, electrical shorts. That is the standard assumption. Yet, our chemical pack generates massive, prolonged warmth without incinerating a single thing. Here is the secret. Whenever any material shifts from a liquid phase into a solid phase, it dumps energy into its surroundings. Physics calls this the latent heat of crystallization. The thermal energy previously trapped within the fluid's molecular bonds is violently pushed out as those molecules lock themselves into a tight, solid structure. Sodium acetate is a superstar in this realm because its heat of fusion is astronomically high compared to other everyday materials. Here's what that means in a practical sense. A basic 100-gram pouch contains enough locked-away energy to keep a mug of coffee piping hot for well over 2 hours. Your body is already generating heat around the clock just to keep you alive. This chemical pack acts as a targeted, hyperdense injection of that exact same thermal energy, delivering it straight to your core where your circulatory system desperately needs it. It does not replace your biological heat, it reinforces it right at the foundation. And the best part? Unlike a standard throwaway hand warmer that slowly rusts its iron powder until it's dead forever, this molecular reaction is entirely reversible. You store energy in the bonds, unleash it when you are freezing, reset the whole thing with boiling water, and repeat the cycle endlessly. Once you look at the raw data, disposable warmers start looking like a terrible investment. Which brings us to number 3, the cost comparison. The numbers here are honestly staggering once you lay them out. A regular single-use chemical warmer will set you back roughly $2 to $4 and give you warmth for maybe 6 to 8 hours. After it burns out, you throw it in the trash. You cannot reset it. You cannot reverse the one-way iron oxidation reaction that powers it. Once it finishes, it is garbage. If you are surviving a harsh winter and using these daily, you are burning cash incredibly fast. A reusable sodium acetate pack runs about $15 to start. You reset it by tossing it into a pot of boiling water for 15 or 20 minutes. You can repeat this cycle hundreds of times before you notice any real drop in performance. The cost to recharge it is practically zero if you already have a stove running or a campfire built. Now let's calculate the price per hour of warmth over a typical 100-day winter season, assuming you use a heat source once a day. Buying a $3 disposable pack every day costs you $300 for the season. Taking that $15 reusable pack and using it the exact same way costs you $15 flat, and basically nothing to recharge. That breaks down to about 1.25 cents per hour of heat, compared to 30 cents an hour for the throwaway packs. Disposables cost you 25 times more per hour of thermal output than a reusable pouch. The commercial market has done an amazing job tricking the public into thinking single use is the practical option. Thermodynamics proves they are wrong. Before moving forward, let's address why many of you actually clicked this video, building your own reusable heating pouch on the cheap so you never have to buy disposables again. The ingredients are incredibly simple and easy to source. You will need sodium acetate trihydrate, some distilled water, a sealable high-temperature plastic bag or container, and a tiny metal nucleation disc. You can grab sodium acetate trihydrate online from any chemistry supply shop or Amazon for roughly $6 to $8 a kilo. That is enough bulk material to construct dozens of warmers. Those little metal trigger discs can be found at online electronics retailers for around 20 cents a pop. The recipe is super basic. Mix 3 parts of the sodium acetate trihydrate with 1 part distilled water, measuring by weight, into a small pot. Slowly heat the combination while stirring it until every bit of the powder dissolves into a perfectly clear fluid. Do not let it reach a hard boil. You just want it fully integrated and dissolved. Carefully transfer the hot liquid into your heavy-duty pouch. Toss the metal disc inside and seal it shut completely so it is totally airtight. Leave it completely alone to cool down to room temp. If it remains a liquid as it cools, you nailed it. It is now resting in that super-cooled metastable state and ready for action. Getting an absolutely airtight seal is the single most vital step here. Any tiny leak will let humidity sneak in and ruin the concentration, which we will talk about in section 7. Nail the seal, and this homemade pack will serve you for years for less than $2 in parts. Now let's discuss the massive error most people make when they finally go to use it. Number 4 is the deployment mistake. And almost everybody completely blunders this on their first attempt. When your fingers are freezing, your brain tells you to grab the heat pack in your hands. It makes logical sense. Your hands are freezing, so you apply heat to the freezing part, but your hands are not cold because of the environment directly around them. Your hands are cold because of what is happening in the center of your chest. When your core temperature begins to fall, your biology immediately clamps down on the blood flow heading to your limbs. It is a built-in survival tactic. Your body sacrifices the comfort of your fingers to ensure your vital organs stay warm. So your hands turn to ice first because your system is purposefully cutting off circulation to shield your core. Gripping a heat pack in your palms only treats the symptom. It completely ignores the root cause. The scientifically optimal placement is right against your core. Specifically, tuck it against your inner thigh near the femoral artery, or right on your abdomen where massive blood vessels sit just under the skin. Pumping heat straight into your core convinces your body it is safe to push that warm blood back out to your fingers and toes. Your extremities will naturally heat up as a secondary effect of taking care of the center first. You do not need to apply heat to your hands at all. Your biology and basic physics manage that entirely on their own once the core is stable. Going for the hands is just human instinct. Going for the core is science, and science wins every single time. Nailing the placement is only half the battle, though. The other half is what most people accidentally throw away without even knowing it. Time for quick quiz number 2. You are holding a fresh sodium acetate pack and you are shivering. Where is the absolute best place to stash it for the fastest total body warming? Option A, sandwiched between your cupped hands. Option B, slapped right on the back of your neck. Option C, shoved down into your boots. Or option D, directly against your core like your abdomen or inner thigh. Think back to what we just covered before you lock in your guess. I will start the 15-second clock while you drop your answer down below. If you picked option D, you are paying attention. Your hands only feel icy because your body cut off the blood supply to guard your internal organs. Putting the warmer on your thigh or belly heats up the blood right where it flows the fastest, and your body naturally pumps that thermal energy straight back to your freezing hands. Drop a comment if you got that one right. Number 5 is the insulation multiplier. If you slap a bare sodium acetate pouch straight onto your skin without any covering, it bleeds heat into the freezing air way faster than necessary. The pack pumps out thermal energy in a full 360-degree radius. Sure, a good chunk goes into your skin, but a massive amount just radiates out into the atmosphere and is wasted forever. The solution takes zero effort and costs absolutely nothing. Slipping just a single layer of fabric between the outer side of the pouch and the cold air completely flips the thermal retention math. Just wrap the warmer loosely in a wool sock, a piece of fleece, or fold it into a layer of clothing before you press it to your core. That fabric barrier catches the escaping radiant heat and holds it right against your skin instead of letting it vanish. If you happen to have a Mylar emergency blanket, wrap it loosely around your torso over the pack with the silver side facing in. That metallic coating bounces up to 90% of the escaping radiant energy right back into your body. The real-world difference here is massive. A properly insulated pack will keep pumping out useful warmth for 4 to 6 solid hours. That exact same bare pack exposed to the air will drop to room temperature in an hour or two. You aren't creating any extra heat. You are just preventing it from escaping into the void. And when you crunch the numbers on how this system alters your biological thermal balance, the results are incredible. Number 6 is the body heat map, and this is where the thermodynamics get truly wild. At rest, an average human body pumps out about 100 watts of heat. That is your baseline metabolic engine, constantly running. In mildly chilly weather, that 100 watts easily keeps your core happy. But as the thermometer drops, the speed at which your body bleeds heat to the air accelerates rapidly. Physics explains this through Newton's law of cooling, which essentially says you lose heat faster when the difference between you and the air is bigger. If it is negative 10 degrees Celsius outside, your skin is battling a massive 47-degree temperature gap. Your 100 watts of natural output starts losing the fight. Your internal temperature begins to sag, your biology freaks out and cuts blood to your fingers to protect the vital organs. Now, introduce that properly deployed sodium acetate pack right to your core. It acts as a hyper-focused injection of thermal energy exactly where your circulatory system demands it most. Your core temp levels out. Your brain stops hoarding the warm blood. Your icy hands and feet naturally start to thaw. The gap between enduring a freezing night in relative comfort and shivering until your teeth crack is usually a shockingly tiny thermal margin right at your core. The chemical pack perfectly bridges that exact gap. Ironically, the first time someone triggers one of these pouches, they usually assume it is broken. It's not. But number 7 is the moisture trap, and this is the silent killer that destroys most of these packs way before their time. Sodium acetate is highly hygroscopic, which is a fancy way of saying it aggressively sucks moisture right out of the air. That doesn't sound too bad until you realize how it ruins the internal chemistry. The liquid inside your warmer is balanced to an incredibly specific concentration ratio. That exact ratio dictates the temperature at which it crystallizes, how hot it gets, and exactly how long the active cycle lasts. When ambient humidity sneaks in through a slowly failing seal, it dilutes that perfect ratio over the months. Suddenly, your pack doesn't get as hot, it crystallizes at the wrong temp, and your 6-hour burn time drops to 2 or 3. Most folks just think the chemicals are getting old and wearing out, but that is totally false. The chemical hasn't aged a bit. The water ratio has just quietly shifted without any visual clues. To stop this, store the pack inside a tightly sealed Ziploc bag when you aren't using it, and keep it far away from humid places like sweaty jacket pockets or damp backpacks. If you ever notice the heat output starting to suck after months of use, try boiling it for a full 30 minutes instead of the usual 15. That extended heat cycle forces the trapped excess water out and resets the original chemical ratio. If you store it right, a single pack will perform flawlessly for years. The moisture issue isn't a factory defect. It's just a chemistry quirk with an incredibly easy storage fix. Finally, we hit number 8. The recharge system. And this is the feature that completely rewrites how you should view portable heating. Literally every other heat source you drag into the wild is a consumable. Throwaway warmers burn themselves out. Fuel canisters run dry. Batteries drain down to zero. Every single one is a limited resource that forces you to pack more or resupply. The sodium acetate pouch shatters that entire model. After the pack is completely rock solid and cooled down, the stored energy is spent, but the physical material inside is 100% intact. Absolutely nothing was consumed. The sodium acetate molecules are just stuck in their rigid solid form instead of floating as a liquid. To reset the whole system, you only need one thing: boiling water. Just submerge the solid pouch into a rolling boil for 15 to 20 minutes. That intense thermal energy from the water shatters the bonds keeping the crystal lattice together. The molecules detach and dissolve right back into the water matrix. The pouch turns back into a completely clear liquid. It is supercooled again. It is fully recharged and ready for deployment. In a real survival scenario, as long as you can spark a fire and find some water, you can endlessly recharge this pocket-sized thermal battery. You can run this cycle hundreds of times without the chemistry degrading. The only physical part that might actually wear out is that little metal nucleation disc, and you can replace that for roughly 20 cents if it ever fails. A $15 sodium acetate pack that is properly maintained will literally last you for years, not just a few winter seasons. You are not purchasing a temporary heat product. You are investing in a thermal system powered endlessly by pure physics and hot water. Expensive equipment is not what keeps you alive out there. Your understanding of physics does. Now you know exactly how to carry a tiny thermal battery in your pocket that resets on a basic campfire and crushes single-use warmers and efficiency by a massive factor of 25. However, there is a totally different thermal drain that even people carrying these exact pouches still mess up completely. The cold ground you are resting on is sucking more warmth out of your body than the freezing air around you, and practically no one prepares for it until they are already in trouble. We are going to break down exactly how to stop that in the next video.